by the recording. Meeting materials. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I, Coley Rybicki, notes otherwise. Meeting business ground rules. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, question, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any reason, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before you speak. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items with public comment, we have established an email address for public comment. That email address is publiccomments@danversma.gov. I will repeat that, publiccomments@danversma.gov. This email address is also posted with the agenda and shown online with the streaming of this meeting. Residents will email comments and they will be provided and read out loud after staff has confirmed their name and address. Public call-in options are you can dial 978-777-0001, extension 1. I'll repeat that phone number, 978-777-0001, extension 1. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Since that was the first item on the agenda, we will now turn to item number 2 on the agenda, which is to approve the minutes from our previous meeting, which was held on June 18th, 2020. I will ask the commissioners by name if they have any comment on the previous meeting notes. Justin Terrell?
No comment, Coley.
Michael O'Keefe?
No comment.
At this point in time, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the minutes of our previous meeting.
Motion to approve minutes.
Seconded?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And we need to do a roll call vote. I'm not going to break my own rules. So Michael O'Keefe?
Aye.
Justin Terrell?
Aye.
And Coley Rybicki? Aye. Item number 3 on the agenda is our financial update. And I'll turn it over to David Lane at this point, or Peter Kapusik, who's ever most appropriate at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is David. I would defer to our business manager, Peter Kapusik.
All yours, Peter.
You're on mute, Peter.
Peter Kapusik here. Mr. Chairman, we're going to look at the January 31st, 2021 sales of water and sewer. The good news is that is a percentage of cubic feet that we budgeted to sell at this point in time over last year. Our sales are 7% ahead of where we anticipate over last year. So last year we were 7% behind of our budgeted sales to meet the goal of paying for our appropriated services at town meeting. The cash receipts, the good news with the cash receipts is that the cash is in fact 4.2% ahead of where it was last year also. So that may seem surprising that, because a lot of businesses are closed, but if we break it down by commercial and residential, the residential sales at this point in time are 16% higher than they were last year, and the commercial sales are 14% below where they were. So there's an almost 4 million cubic feet additional sales when we net those two numbers together. So in total, the sales through January 31st is 5.38% ahead. And like I say, the additional sales through the residential customers far outsurpassed anything that we didn't sell to our commercial customers. Now, the last couple of years when we've been at this meeting, you've heard me say that part of the reason we weren't making our sales was because the weather was against us. It was rainy and it was cool. As we may think back of this past summer, it was warm and dry. So, and plus everybody else, because people were home, people were more inclined to be out in the yard, have gardens, that pay more attention to their lawn, and that has offset the losses that we incurred by businesses being shut during this pandemic. And additionally, if we look at it from a Middleton and Danvers perspective, the water sales in Middleton were up 14%, and in Danvers they were up 3.5%. Now, if we look at that on a cubic foot basis, because Middleton's a lot smaller than Danvers, a lot less accounts, we sold almost 2 million cubic feet in Middleton over last year, and in Danvers it was 2.2 million more cubic feet this year through January. So the good news over the last year for us is that the weather and everybody being home and taking more interest in their yard and their gardens, we've been able to fully fund through this point in time all of the amount of money that was appropriated at last town meeting. Now, if we look at our cash, as I think I mentioned, our cash receipts are up 4.2% from where they were last year. So it's one thing for us to sell more water, but we have been collecting more cash too, which is important. So we're 4.2% ahead of where we were last year to meet our goals on the water, and that's $650,000 more. And like I said, the residential is what has carried us through. On the sewer side, we have similar numbers where the sales are 2.6% ahead of where we anticipated our budgeted sales, and our cash is ahead of where it was last year too. Not by much, but still by 2%. And that's because, as we know, the sewer, as I mentioned, it's because of lawn watering, gardens and such. The sewer, that part is fixed more or less, even though there are people home. A lot of what the water went through, the numbers indicate, was on lawns and gardens and things. So if we look at how much money, in order to determine whether we should feel comfortable that we're going to make it to the end of the year, even though we're looking good through now, if I look at the cash we collected in FY19 and FY20, if we meet those numbers in both water and sewer, we will easily collect enough money to cover the funds that we were able to expend during the last town meeting. So even though this has been a hard year in a lot of ways, and we haven't had as much sales to the business, the weather and people being home has enabled us to still provide everybody what they need and provide us with the funds to continue on the program without having to have any changes in the budget. And that's all I've got. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, I guess I'll, per protocol, since we're remote, I'll go board member by board member. Michael O'Keefe, any comment?
No, Cole, I have no comment. Thank you,
Okay.
Peter.
Okay, thank you. Justin Terriot, any comment?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. This is Coley Rybicki. I guess I just have two comments. I'm not surprised we're up, given the fact, as you said, Peter, everybody's home. There's a lot of people working remotely. The kids have been home due to school. So I'm not surprised that we're seeing the numbers that we're seeing. The curiosity question I have, looking at the worksheet, I see that, we've done around 81,000, cubic feet, according to the schedule in front of us. How does that compare to forecast? Are we way above forecast, and do we think the state will be leaning on us for using more water, or are we dead on forecast, or how does that number compare to what we expected?
Well, if we look in the middle of the page to the left on the water side, we were anticipating selling 120, almost 125 million cubic feet, and that 81.3 is 65.2. So, given the percentage of the year that has passed and the percentage of water that we've sold, we feel that we're a little bit ahead of where we would have expected, and based on where we are, we should be fine with the sales.
Okay. Yeah, I just didn't know whether we're using more, and is the state going to come at us for using more, right?
Well, yeah. I don't have the per capita those figures, but we might be. Well, I don't have a good answer for that right now.
Okay. All right. If Lee King, do we have any questions from the public at the moment?
This is David Lane. I just checked with Lee King, and we do not have any public comments at this time.
Okay. Thank you, David. At this point in time, I'll do a roll call vote to accept the financial statements as presented by Peter. Michael O'Keefe,
I accept.
Justin Terrell,
I accept.
and Coley Rybicki, I accept. So we accept the minutes as presented by Peter Kapusik. We'll now move on to item 4 on the agenda, which is our fiscal year 2021 budget. And over to you, David Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe Lee King has dropped off copies of the draft FY 2021 budget for water and for the sewer divisions of DPW. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman? You guys got a copy?
Yes, we got them on Tuesday.
Great. That's what I thought. Thank you. I do want to caution the board, these are working copies. It's still a work in progress. There's a few numbers on there, especially like in the healthcare and some of those employee benefit numbers, which we're working with other town officials to finalize those costs on. So all of those need a little bit more work. Overall, I could summarize, you'll see the budgets are very similar to last year's. We tried to keep the line on everything where we could, and essentially we haven't had any drastic changes in our operations or in buying or selling of materials. So we were able to put together a budget that's very similar to last year's. On the salaries, you will see increases on the permanent salaries. This is due to an embedded 2% proposed increase or cost of living allowance that's in there. Nothing is cast in stone on cost of living increases next year. The town is right now bargaining with all of their groups. So all the contracts are up, but we've put an allowance of 2% on the salaries. Additionally to that, this is the year, the one of 7, where we need to budget the 53rd week. We're going to have 53 pay weeks this year, so the 53rd week is in those salaries. So you'll see a bump up for that. The last thing, and I really just wanted to summarize tonight and take questions, or we can talk more in depth on any item. On the sewer budget, the SESD line item, as you can, I believe Peter, the one they have, does that have it level funded for last year? Is that the version they have?
I'm not sure which version they have.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if you could look at that SESD line item on the sewer budget, and on your version, does it show it at the same number as FY21?
Yeah, let me, I'm just retrieving my book now. Give me a moment.
Sure.
That's line item 56902.
I just have to find the water and sewer budget page. And for the listening and viewing public, this is a pretty voluminous document, so bear with me. There's the capital improvements. Let me just go to the, I don't need to be looking at debt service. I found electric. Let me get some water.
It's around page 48, Coley. Is where it starts.
Colby, page 48, Justin said?
Yeah. Justin, do you have the number? Did you beat me to it?
No, I found the section. I haven't found the line items yet.
What was the line number again, Peter?
56902, South Essex Sewage District.
Got it. Okay. It has a decrease over 2020 budget of about almost 3%.
Yeah, it's down 2.93%, David, Lane?
Okay, so it's down from, so what happened with SCSD is we had a good drop from 20 to 21. There was a big drop. Right now, we're working on where that number is going to be for 2022. And right now, it looks pretty good. Our town engineer, Stephen King, reports that our flows and loads, which is what our big factor on how they appropriate the costs, looked good this year. So we're hoping to have that number as low as possible. However, I just want to caution the board tonight that that number right now is a work in progress on where it's going to be for next year.
Okay.
Other than that, as you can see, with the cost of living increase in salaries, need to work on SCSD. It's a relatively level funded budget, similar to last year.
Okay. So this is for informational purposes only as a line item on our agenda, and there's no need for a vote or anything on this, correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
I'll entertain any questions from the board at this point in time. Justin Terrell, any questions?
No, not right now. Thank you.
Okay. Mike O'Keefe, any questions?
No questions at this time, Coley.
Okay, thank you. I think, David Lane, we just got this on Tuesday, so I won't be surprised once we've had a little bit more time to take a look at it. Maybe at our next meeting, we may have a couple of questions, or if we have questions in the meantime, would you want us to direct them to you?
So if you'd like to do individual emails to me, feel free to do that. I do
Okay.
plan on having this as an agenda item on the March meeting. In addition, we'll have an agenda item for our proposed warrant articles in the capital plan in March also.
Okay, all right. And that way we can have further discussion on this before it hits town meeting, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, good. I'm following along. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to item number 5 on our agenda, which are the Dyer Court betterments. I'll turn it over to you, David Lane.
On this one, I'd like to defer this to our town engineer, Stephen King.
Okay, Stephen King, all yours.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, good evening, Commissioners. For Dyer Court, if you recall, back in 2019, we had a homeowner that was looking to sell their property at 4 Dyer Court. In the process of that, they failed their Title IX inspection, and it had to and go through the health department, and the health department said that they could connect to sewer instead of rehabbing their existing septic system. At that time, they approached myself and the Public Works Department to see if we could install a new sewer main to feed both 3 and 4 Dyer Court, who were never connected to the actual sewer. At that point, the engineering division came up with some design cost. We did the design in-house. We bid it over this past summer after getting approval at town meeting. We advertised the project. We got great prices to do the work. That commenced in late October. It was completed by December. And now we have a new pressure sewer main, low pressure sewer service that feeds both 3 and 4 Dyer Court that they can connect to if they choose to do that. And that process, as far as the Danvers Sewer Acts and Danvers Sewer regulations, we're allowed to charge betterment fees for the work that takes place. And this is calculated based on a fixed mainline cost that the homeowners would pay 50% of the total mainline cost, and they would pay 100% of their actual sewer service that gets installed onto their property. So what you have in front of you in your packages tonight are the betterment assessments based on the final installation numbers and cost from the contractor to perform the work. And in order to assess this on their taxes moving forward, we would need your approval with the approval and signatures on both betterment documentation, and then this would get passed to the homeowners for signature, and then ultimately get recorded in the registry, and then they'll start getting assessed based on the item payment breakdown that they decided to pick.
Yeah, I do remember when we discussed this back in 2019. Yep. Okay. So at this point in time, I'll ask the commissioners if there's any questions at number 3 and number 4 Dyer Court. Michael O'Keefe.
I just had one question. I know you did the work. Did this cost include the road repairs? Because I know that road over there is in pretty rough condition.
This cost included the temporary road repairs, so temporary pavement patch that's there right now, and we have not bid out the final construction cost for final overlay.
Okay, got you. Thank you.
Justin Terriot, any questions?
The only question I had was, why is for 3 Dyer Court, are they like twice as much for the betterment assessment charge? Like what varies? Is that much more material and labor included in getting to their house versus 4? I don't.
It's similar to, it's close to that. It's based on frontage of your property and how much frontage the sewer main crosses. So we come up with a uniform linear foot price for the total mainline cost, which includes paving, the main line, the backfilling, police, and temporary patching, and the manholes, any manholes associated with the property, and the ball and chuck valve assemblies. Then we break that down into one price. Then we multiply by the frontage of the property, and that comes up with the actual cost. So one property has a little bit longer frontage than another, then they get the associated cost to install that sewer main in front of their house.
All right, thank you.
Do we have any further questions from the public, David Lane? Any questions come in?
No, we do not have any further comments from the public or calls.
Okay. At this point in time, the chair will put a motion before the board to vote on the sewer betterments at 3 Dyer Court and number 4 Dyer Court. Please answer in the affirmative or negative. Justin Terriot?
Yeah, I approve.
Michael O'Keefe?
I approve as well.
And Chair Coley Rybicki approves. It's unanimous for these betterments at those 2 locations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do need the board members to sign the betterment. It becomes part of the formal document. These documents, I wondered if we could ask you to stop by Stephen King's office down on Borough Street at your pleasure and just run in. You can bang on the door. We have staff there that you could just walk in and sign it right there, if that would be possible.
Not a problem. The building on the left or the building on the right?
The building on the right of Borough Street.
We're 1 Borough Street.
You're on 1 Borough.
Right.
You think after having lived in town for 6 decades, I'd have that figured out by now, right? Okay, we'll now move to item 6 on the agenda. Any other open items that the board would like to discuss or put before us?
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to run through a couple items if I could quick.
Sure, David Lane, go right ahead.
I'm glad the board brought up the streets. We have a number of streets where the water mains and more specifically, the gas work finished up at the end of the year, and we were not able to get the roads repaved. Most noticeably of that is Hobart Street. We did everything we could to get Hobart Street done before that. COVID really slowed down the gas National Grid Gas on that. They actually stopped doing residential services for a while and had to go back in the fall and do all those cross trenches. So there was no way we could get it paved. We have the money all earmarked. Rich Souza will head up that project first thing in the spring when the weather breaks to get out there. We'll be doing an overlay, improvements to the road, and a whole resurfacing on that road, and the other roads where we did the water work. So we're taking, a lot. Obviously, that real concern. A lot of people use Hobart Street far more than Dyer Court and the others, but we will be improving all those streets that had water work on them in the spring. The staff here and town engineer is hard at work on the renewal of our Water Management Act permit. That's been going on for about a year now. We're still working on the order to complete with them. We expect in March or April, we'll probably have a draft permit that we'll be able to talk to the board about. In conjunction with that, we're in negotiations with the town of Middleton to work on the agreement between Danvers and Middleton. I think we told the board before that that's a very old, outdated agreement, and we need to get a new one established with Middleton, and we're working hard at that. It's quite a process. When we talk about the new permit with the board here, we will be talking about mitigation credits. In order to get to our allotment, the state is going to allocate mitigation credits to make sure we're being good water stewards. We're trying to give back as much water as possible. That's through lining up the sewer pipes, the stormwater work we do, all of those things that we do. The DEP is going to give us credit for through mitigation credits, and that will help us get up to that allotment that we're where we need to be. So we're working on that. We also were informed by the DEP that they are going to be going through a renewal process this year on our registration. So our registrations for our main allocation of water, that comes up once every 10 years. When we did it 10 years ago, it was pretty much a formality. This time they're proposing a whole lot of changes across the whole state. It's going to be a big process. So we have that to look forward to. On the water meters, I did want to bring up an issue to the board that we're having. These are the new water meters that we installed 5 years ago or 6 years ago. On some of the meters, we are having an issue with the gasket on the bottom of the meter. For some reason, especially when we get some changes in water pressure, perhaps if the homeowner turns on and off their water to their home, we get a leak out of the gasket on the bottom of the meter. We've had about 500 of these already over the last 5 years. So we're getting 1 to 2 of these a week, and it's apparently a problem that the manufacturer had with that gasket that's on the bottom of the meter. We don't know how many of these gaskets we have out there. We're trying to work with the manufacturer and get that nailed down. So far, the manufacturer has worked with us as far as replacing meters when they fail. We had a couple finished areas in people's homes where the water meters leaked. The manufacturer stood tall and took care of the insurance claim on those. So it's been a little disruptive for some homeowners, but we've taken care of everything for the owners. It's been hard. Rich and Aaron have had to work to keep doing this, so we're monitoring it with the manufacturer. We're going to see where it goes. Not sure, can't say tonight where it's going to go, but just want to let you guys know that we have an issue. We're on top of it in case you get calls or hear of it out there on the street. The last thing, as far as our last meeting, we talked about the PFAS out of our wells. That's well 1 and well 2. Right now, well 2 is back online. We had some filter changeouts we had to do. That's online. It's within the PFAS guidelines. Right now, well 2 is not online. I mean, well 1 is not online. That one, if we measure for PFAS sampling right at the well, it goes just over what the guideline is from DEP. However, we may be able to use that well where we mix it with all the treatment plant water that has no PFAS in it. We're evaluating that right now. So for a time being, we're going to use well 2 and evaluate well 1. Like I mentioned to the board, at the next meeting, we do expect to have updates to the FY 2021 budget, and we will discuss the warrant article and capital plan for FY 22, And then also, we may have an update on the Water Management Act permit.
I guess this is Coley Rybicki speaking. The only question I have is I have seen in the social media some commentary around the aforementioned Hobart Street situation, and I'm not wondering whether if we should just put a point of information on the town's webpage or something just to let them know we're going to get to it as soon as we can to kind of minimize the noise or set the expectation when that's going to get done. I think people are thinking that we're not doing anything about it yet. You know, listening to you, things are in the works to get it addressed. But I was just thinking, is there a way to let the general public know, you know, be patient, we are working on it.
We did that once through social media. Absolutely, we can do that again, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've seen it a couple times, and, you know, excellent point. Got it. Okay, one last check around the table. Justin, anything you would like to bring up?
The only question I had was, I'm thinking back, it was so long ago when we really last talked. So I want to say you guys had rolled out was it the chlorine injector up in Folly Hill or something like that? Something was done up at Folly Hill, and I wanted to see, like, want to know, like, what are the results of that work that was done? Is it doing like what we anticipated? Like, what's going on there?
So Stephen King is heading up the chlorine booster station project. It's well under construction. It is not finished yet. So we haven't added any chlorine yet. Stephen, what's our date for completion and putting that into operation? Do we have a new date on that, Stephen King?
Hi, yes, Steve King. Yeah, we were planning on probably completing that project by the end of April. Right now, we're connecting all the electrical, pulling those through the conduits, installing the chlorometer, and installing the chlorine booster within the vault that we've set already. So a lot of the main construction work is done. We set the vault. We've reconnected the outflow pipes coming from the tank in and out. We've erected the actual station above ground. So now we're just actually pulling the conduit and installing the mechanical processing piping within the station. So we hope to have that done and DEP approved by the end of April.
So likely either the May or the June meeting, we'll have a report to the board on how that's operating and what we've got for input from our customers. And we'll put that on one of our agendas to make a note of how we're doing in either May or June.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Michael O'Keefe, any final rounds from you?
Yes, I just had one question going back to the meters and the gaskets. So I know, David, you said that the manufacturer worked with the homeowners to cover insurance claims. Are they also covering the labor costs to go in and repair these meters, or is that something that the town's paying for?
So far, we've been paying the labor to do the meters. Where it was only 1 to 2 a week, we were okay doing that. We didn't know it was going to keep going like this, Mike, so we're going to have to get in discussions about that with the labor cost of it. Right now, we're absorbing it.
All right, yeah, absolutely. You should look into that because manufacturer defects, they should be covered by the manufacturer, parts and labor.
Yep.
The chair has no further questions. I'll do a check to the public. Do we have any questions from the public at this point?
Lee King, any comments? No, we still do not have any comments or calls from the public, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's look to set a date for our next meeting.
So this is the 4th Tuesday, Mr. Chairman. I wonder if we want to try, this is the 4th Thursday. I wonder if do we want to try for the 4th Thursday in March?
Is that would be the 25th?
Correct.
I think that is okay with me. I'll go to the board. Justin Terrio, how does March 25th work for you?
It works for me as of now. Thank you.
Okay. Michael O'Keefe?
Yeah, it looks like I could be there. Yep. As long as we're 5:30 start again.
I would assume so, yeah.
Okay.
We're good with 5:30.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we'll set March 25th at 5:30 as our next meeting, and then one last request from the chair, David. I was wondering if, or Lee, if she can hear me. I was wondering if you could circulate to the board the names, email addresses, and phone numbers of everybody from the town and staff that attends this meeting, so can have a cheat sheet of contacts in case any one of us needs to reach out to somebody for whatever reason. I wonder if that would be possible to pull together.
Yep, absolutely. We'll send that out, and by all means, all you need to do is send me if in doubt you can't see the information, quick email to either Lee or I, and we'll connect you with anybody. But we'll send
Okay.
that out to the board.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'd just like to have a sheet at my disposal if I had to, for whatever reason, heaven only knows, but I just thought it'd be a handy thing to have around.
Yep, Lee's on it.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, the chair will entertain a motion to dissolve the meeting.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much, Danvers. Have a good evening. Stay safe and mask up. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Well done.
See you later.